Hello, and welcome to the show. It is October 5th, 2025. I'm Eric Murphy. This is Skeptic Generation. We need to talk. With me today is my co-host, Tori Williams Douglas. Tori, how's it going?
Hi, Eric. I'm doing really well. How are you? We're here.
We're here.
We're doing it.
Damn straight. And we've got a lot to talk about. I know, this is supposed to be a call-in show, and it's been about what you believe and why, but that is kind of far from mine at the moment. I actually titled this episode Feeling the Pinch. 3 out of 4 hosts on this show live in Portland, Oregon. And this week, there's been some Portland news. And I don't think that, I don't think I can go on, the show without us talking about it.
Sure.
So I'll go first. Right before doing the last episode, there was a presidential memorandum put out, and I didn't think too much about it. And then I took another look. I actually talked about it with my buddy Drew. And Drew, because he's got a much larger channel and he's got really great connections, he actually pulled together the presidents of American Atheists and the American Humanist Association and did a conversation with both of them, two organizations that have massive groups of lawyers who specifically sue when this kind of stuff happens. So that was interesting, but also hearing them talk about it really kind of gave me more details that I just was not prepared for. So because we have I don't, how much have you looked at it?
I mean, I've heard people talking about it. I haven't read the whole thing myself, other than the first page, essentially. So
there are some relevant points that impact my comfortability in doing this show.
Yeah. And
so I want to talk about it. I actually grabbed a screen share, and it's just going to cover both of our faces. You know what? Maybe I can do this in a way that's not awful. And now that we're on the air, and I'm just going to scoot us over to the sides, doing this live.
There we go.
And you ready for this? Bam. How's that?
All right.
Not bad, right?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me just get here. Okay, cool. So, this is a presidential memorandum. It is not an executive order. So for people who don't know the difference, or who don't live in the United States, who are just like, what all's going on? My understanding is that an executive order is something new that the president is putting out. It's being held on the president's authority and can get repealed when the next administration comes in or something like that. People can sue or say this is unconstitutional, right? Like, executive orders usually make the news. Memoranda do not, because the president is the chief authority of a lot of organizations that currently exist. So if you are, one of the heads of the armed forces, you report to the president. If you are Department of Interior, Department of Homeland Security, or just any of those organizations, ultimately their top person reports to the president. And so he's the boss, he's the CEO. And when it comes to him directing existing departments, he can just do that. He can just say, hey, I want you to focus on these things and put that out there. So this memoranda is not an executive order because he is within his authority to do this. Well, we'll see. But I have this pulled up, and this does actually impact us. So countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. This is in the wake of the Charlie Kirk stuff. Well, you and I haven't talked about since Charlie Kirk got popped. And apparently it's very dangerous to do so. So Yeah. I have thoughts. I'm sure you do too. I don't know how much I'm comfortable sharing. But when it comes to talking about Charlie Kirk's death, the right really jumped on people critical of Charlie Kirk's legacy, and they said that anybody who is doing that is kind of committing terrorism.
Mm.
So they start off by talking about the shooting of the healthcare executive with
United Healthcare.
United Healthcare, right? And then go on to talk about how they're sad. They got big feels because ICE is getting targeted.
It's interesting that they don't mention the rep in Minnesota who was assassinated. They left that out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
Wow.
it's blatantly partisan.
It's
There is
yeah,
no we're all Americans anymore. At least not under this administration.
yeah.
The thing that gets me is that they talked about the shooting at the ICE facility,
Hmm.
but it was somebody who was targeting people who were in custody of ICE. They were shooting potential immigrants or American citizens. They weren't shooting ICE people, but they were saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, no, it was people were shooting at us." Insanity. But moving on, I do want to get here organized doxing. They talk about how they don't feel comfortable with the identities of ICE officers being out in the open. Although, if you are a member of the armed forces, if you're a police officer or any other federally, like, unless you're CIA, your
Hmm.
information is out there, especially
Yeah.
if you're an officer, especially if you're a public facing officer. You know, there's a
Right.
uniform that you're wearing.
Right.
They're calling it doxing. And let me see here. It says, quote, these campaigns then escalate to organized doxing, where the private or identifying information of their targets is exposed to public with the explicit intent of encouraging others to harass, intimidate, or violently assault them. It is the position of Skeptic Generation that you should not do that. If you are doing that, stop it. If you're thinking about doing that, do something else. Don't do that.
Do something else.
It's let's see here. Where is it? Here we go. There are common recurrent motivations and indicia uniting this pattern of violent and terroristic activities under the umbrella of self-described anti-fascism. These movements portray foundational American principles as fascist to justify and encourage acts of violent revolution. This anti-fascist lie, I'm reading this straight from the White House, has become the organizing rallying cry used by domestic terrorists to wage a violent assault against democratic institutions, constitutional rights, and fundamental American liberties. Common threads animating this violent conduct include anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. So, not only did Trump say that he's designating Antifa as a terrorist organization, which, if you know anything about Antifa, doesn't make any sense.
Not organized. One thing I can say living in Portland.
Yeah,
Not organized.
but if you call yourself anti-fascist, the administration is labeling you or trying their best to label you a terrorist. If you are espousing anti-American, anti-capitalist, or anti-Christian views, if you think people should choose their pronouns, and if you have a problem with the traditional American family values, you're a terrorist. I don't know about you, but do you remember during the gay marriage conversation how traditional American family values were against gay marriage? This is a really good cover to roll that back. Because if you are now for gay marriage, you have a problem with traditional American family values. If you are doing a show like this, I think we benefit from having a small viewership.
Right. Right.
Moving on. So here's, now that we've talked about like identifying the group, let's see
Which
what.
they can we really quickly just
Yeah,
point out they
of course.
didn't do that,
No,
right?
no,
They put out a dragnet.
it's
They're not
sufficiently vague.
identifying anyone, right? It's
No.
like, you disagree with me. I have so many thoughts about this, like good guy, bad guy dynamic that they're setting up. And we can get into it at the end or whatever.
I mean,
like,
yeah, let's talk about it. If not, then I'm sure we're gonna miss out. So yeah, let's talk.
I just, because I was raised in this, right? Because I was raised under what is now known kind of academically as Christian nationalism, right? Where our explicit intention was to take over the United States government for Jesus and to make essentially like, biblical values were more important. Biblical values are more important than the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
And so I was born under this, like, it was basically like a social experiment with hundreds of thousands or millions of people, where we were going to outbreed the libs, take over the government for Christ, and that was going to help sort of usher in the rapture, right? Like the return of Jesus, and et cetera, et cetera. And I have this very distinct memory as a little kid of talking about, my mom talking to me about politics and talking to me about what her beloved Republican dear leaders were doing at the time, right? And this is like early 90s. So it was probably like Newt Gingrich or something.
Yeah.
And
some wistful talk about Reagan.
yeah, and I remember asking very specifically, I was like, okay, but why are we doing these things? Like, if we're behaving in this way, doesn't this make us hypocrites, right? Based on like based on what Jesus taught, right, in the Bible. Right. And I will never forget my mom's response was like, everyone's a hypocrite, right? Like, are you perfect? Do you do everything exactly the way that you want it to be done? Do you do everything exactly the way that you claim you believe, right? And sin was a big deal, right? Because Christianity and authoritarianism. And so obviously, and I was a child, so obviously I was like, well, no, obviously I don't do everything perfect. And she's like, yeah, see, like everyone's a hypocrite. It doesn't matter. It just like moved on.
Yeah, yeah, molten the log, right?
Right. And it was really interesting because being a good guy or a bad guy had nothing to do with your behavior, right? It was your beliefs. It was how you identified. And I think that is how they came to accept Trump, was that he just made these statements of faith, right? Sort of vaguely. And they were like, that's good enough for us. He said the magic words. It doesn't matter what he did before. It doesn't matter that he voted Democrat. It doesn't matter that he's had 3 wives. It doesn't matter that he's like done all these shady business deals and screwed people over, right? That like you were a good guy based on your belief system, right? And it's why they talk about sin instead of talking about harm. It's the exact same thing, right? That it's like, what did you do? Not how did your actions impact other people? And so to me, when I'm reading this presidential memorandum, right? And it's like super vague, super broad. Anyone that we don't like, anyone who has wrong belief is now a domestic terrorist, kind of.
Yeah.
'Cause like, he's not really using a designation that exists legally yet. Who knows? Maybe he'll get a concession there.
Well,
and so he's trying to create this thing of, I get to decide who counts under this umbrella of domestic terrorism, and I'm just putting everyone who disagrees with me as a person.
Everyone who calls me a fascist.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and it's super weird.
Well, the thing is this is kind of a sidestep because he doesn't need to convince Congress about it.
Right, exactly.
There is an existing structure that he's using that is doing that already, you know? So I
Yeah.
do actually want to, that this is perfect to kind of leverage right into the next piece. And that is there is a National Joint Terrorism Task Force, and that it is getting utilized. So here are the things that are is happening. He's directing them to investigate potential federal crimes relating to acts of recruiting or radicalizing persons for the purpose of political violence, terrorism, or conspiracy against rights. Political violence, entirely, we're fully against. Violence, not good, you guys. If you're doing that, stop it. Terrorism, if talking about this things can be terrorism, right? If sharing your
Right.
opinion online is, then that would be this. Conspiracy against rights, I don't understand that. I don't. You know what that feels like? That feels,
Totally.
it honestly feels like cancel culture. It feels like, oh, well, you're
Uh-huh.
silencing me. So that's conspiracy against rights. But I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not, we're just people. Deprivation, violent deprivation of any citizen's rights. I'm cool with that. Totally leave that. Don't do that, guys. Awful. Shall also investigate institutional and individual funders and officers and employees of organizations that are responsible for, sponsor, or otherwise aid and abet the principal actors engaging in the criminal conduct described in the subsections above.
Can I just really quickly interject that sounds like
Yeah.
projection to me? Because like I'm sorry, like anti-fascists are not being aided and abetted by organizations like in the US. Like that's not what we're talking about here. That feels like something they know they're doing.
No, what this feels like is this feels like cover to criminally investigate the DNC. It also feels like,
Okay. I guess you could tie they've set this up so that you could tie
yeah,
people who vote Democrat under
and also to investigate anyone who is
that umbrella.
donating to the DNC. And
Interesting. Okay.
I think this can also include any nonprofits that have said that the Trump administration is fascist. So I think that
okay.
this can, for non-believers, y'all are familiar with American Atheists, American Humanist Association, Recovering from Religion. Those are all organizations that are now open to investigation by the Joint Terrorism Task Force, both the people who work there, who are elected in leadership, and who are donating to those organizations.
Because they're anti-traditional family values for being not Christian, for being anti-Christian.
Well, it's vague enough that it can mean that, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that, yeah. And then that's how they framed it for decades, right? Is that atheism is anti-Christian. So it does fit pretty neatly under their
Yeah. It
labeling
does.
that they've put together here.
It continues, though. It's not just investigating them. They're also he's having right. So these are all different things he's having different departments do. Right. The Attorney General. What's the Attorney General looking into? He wants them to prosecute anybody and everybody. What it says here, the first part sounds more reasonable. The second part, not so much, right? The Attorney General shall issue specific guidance that ensures domestic terrorism priorities include politically motivated terrorist acts such as organizing doxing campaigns, swatting, rioting, looting, trespass, assault, destruction of property, threats of violence, and civil disorder. This guidance shall also include an identification of any behaviors, fact patterns, or current motivations or other indicia common to organizations and entities that coordinate these acts in order to direct efforts. So if you are leading or are part of organizing nonviolent protests, you, to whatever degree that they can be prosecuted, he's directing the Attorney General, who then directs the Department of Justice to prosecute that, right? Secretary of the Treasury, where this is the IRS here, He's wanting to do full IRS audits. That goes into donors, people who are donating and people like all of that stuff. Right? Commissioner of the IRS specifically, directly or indirectly financing political violence or domestic terrorism. Where you and I used to think the word domestic terrorism, I think that should be just fine. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, investigate the shit out of the KKK. Investigate the
Yeah.
shit out of the Proud Boys, investigate the shit. But in the context of this specific memoranda, I don't think those are the organizations that are being talked about. He's organizing. He has directions to just department after department after department. So it's got me nervous. And if you live in the United States, I think the biggest reprieve that anyone has given me, the biggest, hey, everything's going to be okay, is, hey, you're not going to be the first. You're lower on the priority scale. It's not
right.
It's not you got it wrong.
Right.
It's, if this gets instituted, you're not going to be first. So we have other news, and that's going to help contextualize things for here in Portland. Tor, do you want to talk about what's been going on in Portland? I know I kind of gave this last one. I mean, I'd be happy to, but...
Truthfully, not that much. That was really interesting when we were getting the when we were being told that Portland was under siege by Antifa or whatever, and everybody got online and started posting videos, and they're like, "It's a gorgeous day. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I'm at the farmer's market, right?
Totally.
Everything's all right. I'm downtown, walking downtown. Like V and I went on a date downtown. Where I go downtown actually at least once a week for a doctor's appointment, a standing appointment that I have. I'm downtown all the time.
Yeah.
Not only is it exponentially more organized and fewer like homeless or drug addicted people than I saw when I lived in Austin. Streets are way cleaner than when I lived in Austin. Like, you know what I think it is? Honestly, I know I've told you this privately, and I don't care how many Portlanders I upset. They are so fucking spoiled here. They have this, I saw a homeless person, everything's going to shit. It's like, did you know that I had a friend who lived in a really nice apartment building in Austin, and they had this big green like area in front of their apartment complex that was between the road, right? So traffic going one way, traffic going the other way, and this large, beautiful, lush green expanse. And when COVID hit, there was already an encampment there, but it grew. It was bigger than any pictures of Hoovervilles I've seen. It was massive. You just keep driving blocks and blocks and blocks, and it is one continuous homeless encampment, just massive, massive, massive. Everywhere I drove underneath the freeway, every overpass was completely packed with homeless people. Like when I worked downtown in Austin, there was there were more times than I can count people shirtless in the street trying to fight cars, and not to mention, but I worked nearby one of the only Planned Parenthoods, and it was firebombed, so I had to drive past a firebombed Planned Parenthood. Right, this is in Austin, Texas, and people in Austin aren't saying this everything's going to shit. right? I moved here to Portland, and people are crying about seeing a homeless person. Right,
Yeah.
the most
A
tents
couple of tents.
the most tents I've seen together in one place has been like 6, not 40. You know,
Yeah.
so it's interesting. So I think that's part of it. I think people are listening to the locals who are saying everything's worse than it's ever been, and worse than it's ever been is still infinitely better than many, 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 many other places.
It's not worse. If you were here in the 90s, hello, does anyone remember the crack epidemic? It is not worse than it has ever been. I will fucking die on this hill.
I grew up
It's
in
just not.
I mean, I grew up in Southern California, with a lot of my family in LA, and I lived just outside of LA. Crack epidemic was big there too, and let me tell you something. I would bet you dollars to donuts it was. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with the way that Portland gets portrayed, because it's getting portrayed as this bombed out wasteland. But go on.
Well, it's interesting. No, okay. So this is really, really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because, I was listening to this just kind of prominent conservative activist on a podcast that's hosted by two, progressive, if not leftist people. And they were kind of, trying to have a conversation with this person, whatever. He lives here in Portland, and he was talking about how it's like a bombed out wasteland. And I'm like, bro, you live here. Like, you're fucking lying. Like, this is not true. It was wild. And so I don't like giving into that, because crime is down, and unfortunately, rates of homelessness have been increasing. The city has a massive budget actually for affordable housing, but
even there,
the money's kind of constrained. Sorry.
No. It's okay. Honestly, the more homeless people find their way to Portland, the more I know are safe. Because you know what they did in Austin to get rid of the homeless population? They made it illegal.
Oh no. Yep.
And so what had
I'm sure
happened,
that solved it.
Well, so what
overnight.
had happened was Austin had, part of the reason why it had such a massive homelessness issue is because Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, their budget for homeless, people that lived in their city
Services.
was to buy them tickets to Austin. So they would send them one-way tickets, bus them to Austin, so that became Austin's problem, because Austin's the blue place, right? When it became illegal, they got pushed into surrounding communities. Those surrounding communities then made it illegal to be homeless, and the news never reported it. There are so many people who disappeared. I have no idea where they went. I do know that when the big freeze came through Austin, a lot of homeless people died, and they just disappeared. So when you talk about the growing homelessness here in Portland, you say that, but then the next thing you say is there's so much money set aside to help.
There is.
That's the next thing you say, right? How do you justify saying there's please continue.
No, it's totally fine. It is. It's really interesting. There is so much money being set aside for housing, for services, that shelters are remodeling. That's how much money there is. The shelters are upgrading their buildings. So just for context, that's how it is here. And so a lot of the money is tied up. It's constrained. It has certain federal or other places that it's come from. There's certain obligations that have to be met when designing the buildings, which makes sense, and also makes it take a decade instead of 2 years to build, to create a project and get it from idea stage all the way to opening, handing people keys. So I have frustrations, don't get me wrong, but Portland is just, and I also want to own, I want to be totally honest that crime went up here when Trump was in office last time, just like it did literally everywhere else in the country. So I'm not like, we're not unique in that way. Like, yeah, like crime really did skyrocket last time Trump was in office. So just to be clear. And it is, like everywhere else, gone back down since he was out. And so we'll see what happens next. But in terms of what is going on in Portland, I just so people understand the context, the ICE facility that is here in Portland is right next door to, unfortunately or fortunately, the Tesla dealership. So it's kind of a twofer if you want to go protest.
But yeah.
And this is true. So people have been pretty much camping out there to protest, which before it would have made me a domestic terrorist, I would have said I respected. The number of incidents that have occurred, and this was outlined by a judge who I believe was put in 2019, so that was Trump's purview. There have been 4 incidents that have happened over the month of September, where he then decided to get on Truth Social and Truth Out. It was like a hellhole and everything was ravaged. 2 of the 4 incidents were people shining really bright flashlights at cars. Just, again, to be clear, like, not much is happening here as far as that goes. And Portland, again, I do want to say, is a protest city. There was a protest every single Friday when George W. Bush was in office. So,
which is like, amazing. And it honestly,
that's how we roll.
I've never lived in a protest city before.
Okay.
What blows my mind is the way that it's approached here is so different. It's organized.
What do you mean?
Well, okay, so there are way more people in chicken suits. And and people who are, dressed in funny ways. And part of that I know is that there's a strategy there, but a big piece of that is also like, they know they're not going to do anything wrong. So let's give some bad optics here, right? Are you really going to attack the person who's doing yoga, naked in the street, right? Like, are you really going to beat them and mace them and hit them with rubber bullets? I think that there are other reasons why they might do that, and I'm learning more and more. So I'm keeping a lid until I learn more about why they're doing a thing before I talk about it too much more. But the strategies are thought through in a different way. And the other thing is I'm not seeing people just showing up. When I heard about when there were big marches in Texas, or when there were protests in California, it was, hey, show up to this thing, right? In Portland, it's more, hey, do you have the number of a lawyer to call if you get arrested? Who knows that you're going, right? Yeah. Who are you looking out for? Why are you going? When are you going? How long are you going to be there? Right? There's a level of organization and a level of community support that supports that organization that blows my mind. And it makes me look back at the stuff that people turned up in other states as like, holy crap, that was nowhere near as safe. Yeah. So but I know we're talking so much about how Portland is, but for people who aren't dialed in, maybe you're not living in the United States, or maybe you're just not watching the news. But the reason we're talking about Portland is because Trump, right? You said that Trump is claiming that it's this bombed out hellhole.
And that he needs to send the National Guard.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there has been an uptick. What I understand is there have been a lot more ICE raids there, and also the National Guard is coming. And a couple of things have happened since then. I know that the governor called Donald Trump and said, we're just fine. Don't bring them. Don't send them.
Right.
And Trump said, what was his quote? Are you saying that what I'm seeing on TV isn't real?
And it's like, yeah, they're showing you stuff from 2020, man.
Yeah.
It actually isn't real.
But I've also seen that like Portland police also put out a statement saying, don't come, don't send the National Guard. They're just like,
Right.
what are you doing? Like, the relationship between the people of Portland and the Portland police feels is a long one that I only know a little bit about. But hearing that the people and the police are saying, fuck that,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
is mind blowing. And so we are looking at a full, like, potential, like a military occupation of our city. And on top of that, you are continuing seeing what we're, you know, what gets talked about all over the places, you know, different ice raids and things like that. All of this is to say that with this show being a call-in show, we don't always know who's going to call in or what's going to be talked about. If a point in time comes where our safety is a concern, this show's going to need to be closeted until it's a good time to do that. I'm hoping that does not become the case, but I'm also making plans just in case it is.
Right.
I've been saving up, and I'm actually going to buy a teleprompter. Yeah, I'm hoping to do it in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I'm going to be prepared to make scripted content.
Okay.
I feel like scripted content is safer than live call-in show content.
Right.
And so if that switch needs to be made, I'll be prepared. SKEPGEN will continue. I would still love to do stuff with you, Tori. But like, we need to be at least conscious of and have a plan. So that's the plan that's in place. Yeah. So we have been talking for 40 minutes and I didn't even put the phone number out there. We'd love to take some calls. I have a call screener that's been waiting to talk to people. So let me get the phone number out there. It's 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Again, 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. It's toll free. Call screener is waiting to talk to you. We've got open lines and we'd love to hear from you. Okay. Did I miss anything? Yes. You sent me a link.
I sent you an email.
You sent me an email.
Yeah. I forwarded you an email.
That is the next piece.
From La Dork.
Right. So let me get this going here. Give me just a second. I'm realizing that like it's pretty small. Let me just show here. Let me get the scale up a bit. Ba-bum. There we go. Okay. So, what are we looking at?
So, as we said, Trump was let us know that he was planning on sending the National Guard to deal with the quote unquote emergency that's happening here in Portland. And a federal judge blocked it and basically said that there was no reason to do so. Again, we don't know how this is going to play out. It's a temporary stay. And so it's not like a permanent, you can never bring the National Guard here, which I guess makes sense because, National Guard is for emergencies.
Yeah.
And we from time to time are known to have those for real, not just protesters shining lights in people's eyes and putting up a fake guillotine, which I'm like, please, we don't. Just the January 6th of it all, I don't think is awesome right now. I don't think that's the right move. That was one of the incidents, was that somebody put up a fake guillotine to intimidate federal officers and was dealt with by police. So, that is, I think it is illegal to harass federal officers in that way and to intimidate federal officers, I guess I should say. And so, make smart choices, friends, but that is not something that we need the National Guard for. mean, my understanding based on like the write-up that the judge did was that it was essentially like one person was dealt with. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Trump said there's this huge emergency. Had one of his people like texting the governor of Oregon being like, hey, we're going to be out here because you have a problem and you can't deal with it. Again, the judge lays out that there were 4 incidents over the first 3 weeks of September. And that's simply not enough to require the National Guard. And then, essentially says you're going to have to provide better evidence that there is a need for this. Otherwise, go away, which I appreciate. And again, like this person became a federal judge. I'm going to mispronounce their name because I've not seen this last name before. It looks like Judge Karen Immergut. Perhaps apologies to the judge if I mispronounced her name. I'm very, very sorry. Who is a Trump appointee?
Oh,
Once
really?
Again, 2019. Yeah, Trump put this person on the bench, and she was like, "Yeah, this is not real. Like this invasion that you're talking about, or crisis or whatever, is not a real thing. You need to provide better evidence that there is actually a crisis happening here. Otherwise, go home." Essentially. And again, it's just like a broken clocks. Like, I'm glad to know that at least the people who are educated and principled, who self-identify as conservatives, can also see through this, right? Like Trump was going after like the Cato Institute the other day because Cato was like, the way that you're using ICE is actually just unhinged behavior. This is not constitutional. You need to fucking stop. Right. So, and obviously that like made them very mad because Cato was supposed to be on their team, and not on the team of Antifa. So, or immigrants, I guess, question marks. So this was a really interesting kind of turn of events that this judge that Trump, put on the bench, 6 years ago, was the person who was like, yeah, no, this is not necessary. We don't need this. This is government overreach. Hell yeah. Like, use their language against them. I'm a huge fan of this. And so, yeah, if you want to check out this write-up on it that I really appreciate, you can go to Law Dork and you can read it for free. Chris is awesome and takes, donations. Sorry, little plug for Chris here, because I just think that he's doing the people's work and keeping people informed of what's happening on like the legal side of things and making it really accessible for those of us who don't have law degrees. So
thank you, Law Dork.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share this, that there, at least for now, is like there's just not sufficient evidence. And I would say, for those of us living in this town who get to enjoy it, I would also say we agree there's not sufficient evidence that like this needs to be a thing. The protest site is like on a side street, like it's on a dead end. So it's not even like, it's not fully a dead end, I don't think, but like,
no, but this is not,
they're not even like blocking through traffic. Right.
Yeah. And this is not filling the streets. This is not,
it really isn't. It's a small handful of people, right? Like you can go down there right now. Again, people have to go past to get their Tesla serviced. So like,
I will say that I think the most heartening bit that I read recently is, did you know that World Naked Bike Ride is organizing an emergency World Naked Bike Ride?
No, I didn't know that, but that's amazing.
They want to have naked people on bicycles riding past this, all of this stuff.
I volunteer as tribute.
Right? Like, I think that, again, right? If they're going to show up, pull the teeth out of it, people are going to be riding by with body painted, with their friends and family, naked on bicycles.
This is, again, like going back to what you said, this is just what I really appreciate about protest culture here, is that there are conversations about what is the best way to deal with this. I think there are also conversations about maybe give them nothing is also a valid way to deal with things sometimes, not every time, right? And I think that we need to be strategic, but like not giving them the fight that they want can sometimes be the right move. And I really appreciate that activists here in Portland are willing to have those conversations. So Yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
No. I love the input. We do have a few callers. We've got another one who needs to be screened. So let's get them through. Go there in the screening room. In the meantime, though, let's talk to Austin in Maryland.
Yeah.
Austin in Baltimore?
Yep.
Austin, I was in Baltimore like 3 weeks ago.
I know. I heard you say that. I was kicking myself. I was like, I could have seen the Eric Murphy.
Oh, no, stop.
And potentially VV in the flesh. I didn't know y'all were here.
That's so sweet. I'm the Eric. Yeah, right. So you wanted to talk about leaving the country.
Yeah. I'm going to keep this pretty short, not a whole lot of preamble. I saw there is a person on, like, you know, the usual TikTok, Instagram, those platforms. Their name is Amanda's Mild Takes. I don't know if you're super familiar with them. But basically she did a reel, TikTok, whatever, probably interchangeable at this point, truthfully. Basically saying that, you know, there were situations in which she felt that, you know, maybe you do want to look at leaving the country at this point. And then there were situations where maybe, you know, that's something where you might not need to look at yet. Her criteria now was kind of, you know, if you are undocumented, you might want to seriously consider, you know, leaving the country, especially if you have a family. Well, and then if you were, I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
No, it's okay. I just want to add to that. I might just be preempting what you're about to say, which is that if you are a legally immigrated citizen, right? If you have a green card, those are being revoked as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And even for people who were born in the United States, if your parents were not United States citizens, Trump has been pushing to revoke birthright citizenship. That is not that has not happened, and there is a stay currently, but it's going to find its way to the Supreme Court, and we don't know how that's going to fall. But please,
absolutely. And so, yeah. No, of course. I was just going off of what their criteria was. I think I probably have a more expanded criteria. But again, I'm also not an undocumented person. You know, my parents were born here, my grandparents were born here. So that's, you know, a level of privilege that I have, truthfully. There are other criteria.
But if you say your parents were born here and your grandparents are born here and you live in Maryland, I'm just imagining like your family coming over on the Mayflower.
So actually, it was a couple generations, 3 generations back. Okay. But it was from Italy. My last name's fairly giveaway Italian.
Well, we're not going to dox you.
Throw it out there.
Say it.
Right, we're not domestic terrorists.
Okay.
We're not going to dox you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. That would make you a domestic terrorist.
It
would. But their other criteria was if you were trans or your partner was trans. And I guess my question to both of you is there, obviously we live in an ever revolving hellscape. But is there a point where either of you, I guess probably the answer would be different for both of you, would feel that it was time to take your family and leave the country?
It is easier for me to say that because I don't have kids. So I guess I'll go first. Yes. I don't want to. And also, I have friends who have already left the country. The first friend of mine is a university professor who was part of a nonviolent protest against a pro-Palestine protest. It's been 10 months, and pretty early on, people who were organizing or were well visible during Palestine protests at universities were getting scooped up.
Disappeared.
Disappeared, yeah. And my friend's gender does not match their gender on their passport. Doesn't match their other paperwork. They're transgender, and they're just like, I'm easy pickings. So they fled. That was my first friend to flee the country. I have a few others, but I think that there are a couple of big things. You know, my partner is transgender, and I think that if there's a crackdown on whether or not transgender folks can leave the country, right? Because, right, if they're cracking down on passports or something like that, I would want to leave before we can't leave.
Right.
And I already spoke with my family about it, and I told them, hey, again, right, like it's little comfort, but I think this show's not very big. You know, we don't have a huge audience, so I don't think we're first. But if I start to see my peers getting disappeared, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I think more immediately, if our fears are realized and there's a purge in Portland, then we may need to go even sooner. I don't want to. This is my home. I love it here. And also I have a family to look up for too. But that's me. That's easier for me to say. What about you, Tori?
It's a good question. I do have kids. I have 2 kids, and I also have co-parents. So it's not a unilateral decision that I can make with my partner. So that definitely adds a layer to it. It's something that I think about. I'm going to be totally honest and say, like, from an ideological perspective, I really don't love it. I think that for people who are very severely at risk, please think about protecting yourselves, whatever that looks like. Not remotely like a judgment, but I also think that, like, I am, as you know, as far as these things go, I'm like, I feel like I probably am someone who leans more towards the stay and fight, you know, and I do think about like Japanese internment camps, you know, I do think about stuff like that. Like, what does that look like? You know, and I guess the reason that I would consider leaving is if my kids were, at risk of maybe being taken from me, right? Both of my kids are autistic. And there's been a little bit of talk about taking those children and reparenting them. Reparenting was the word that RFK used, right? So that's kind of my line, personally. That feels much less likely than a crackdown on trans people to me, right? Like, a crackdown on trans people feels much, much more likely, honestly, than taking all of the autistic kids, just because, you know, there's many of them at this point. Like, that's a much bigger lift. But you can definitely target trans people very easily. Like, that's much easier. So, I guess I think a lot about, like, it's weird. It's weird to kind of reflect on that and be like, okay, what is my risk here? And, like, those are things, these are situations you don't necessarily make it out alive from. But I think unless my kids were targeted, that I probably wouldn't consider leaving. But, you know, again, it is an open, I'll be totally honest, it's an open conversation with my co-parents. We're like, if we, for some reason, have to get the fuck out, you know, we've already talked about where we would go. So, you know, I'm thankful to have co-parents who, at least, you know, we don't see eye to eye on, like, politics. Like, I'm much further left than they are. But that being said, they're also like, yeah, no, if you're going to come for our kids, like, get fucked. We will be gone. Thank you. Yeah. Right. And again, it doesn't seem super likely that it would play out that way, but I am cognizant of it and thinking kind of through that lens for sure.
It is interesting that, like, I moved out of Austin, Texas. I moved out of Texas because Portland felt like a more welcoming place to a family that looks like mine.
Yeah.
You know? And also, I know that Portland currently is being looked at being create an example of, right? They're trying to create an example out of Portland. But I also think that I would have more support by people who don't even know me necessarily, who are naked and in chicken suits and also have a plan, which is amazing. So if there is a place to stay and hang on, I feel like I'm where I want to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real conversation that a lot of us have had months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's dark, but I am grateful as well, though, that, like, if Fee and I have to take the cat and go, we have had people who are friends, family, fans, volunteers, moderators, things like that, reach out and say, hey, you need to stay in Canada, you need to stay in Sweden, you need to stay in Iceland, you need to stay in Scotland, Ireland, England.
I love that.
People have offered that up, and we're truly taking that into consideration. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear you say that.
I'm happy to be able to. But we're not going to stop having important conversations. I don't want to stop. I think the worst that could happen is I move to scripted content so that I have a little bit more control over what goes out.
Right.
But I don't want SKEPGEN to stop. And also, we got to take care of the people we love. So we're going to do the best we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I, along those lines, just really quickly throw out, if you see mutual aid kind of campaigns going around for folks who are trying to get to safer places and you're someone who's employed, please consider chipping in a little bit, because that does matter. A lot of people are actually trying to move to Oregon and Washington. California is kind of cost prohibitive for a lot of people, so less, I think, but I know that people are trying to move to safer places. So if you can help people do that, please consider it. Just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting. Like, I feel like I didn't pay as much attention to mutual aid as I am now when I'm seeing it pay off, because all the people who've really considered it and have been doing it here. Like, that's another thing, right? I didn't see that in Texas. I didn't see that in California, but I do see mutual aid networks supporting each other here. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Austin, thank you for calling in. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No.
All right.
I guess, it's an ongoing conversation with my partner as well.
Yeah.
It's also not just us. We also have kids. And, Baltimore is another city that has been, let's say, mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a conversation. And, I love my city. I feel like a lot of cities in the United States have a reputation of, these bastions of liberalism where that are crime infested or whatever. But, I love my city. I'm proud to live around Baltimore. I work in the city. I don't want to speak for everybody in the city, because I certainly can't, but we're proud of where we're from, and we're preparing.
You have a lot to be proud of. Baltimore is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. What a welcoming culture that I've seen. I've been there a few times now, and the people, the food, it is truly I love that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just now. I'm just thinking about the baseball stadium, and the pier and all of and everything out there. It's just yeah, gorgeous.
No,
But
we love our city.
But from my family to yours, good luck and take care of yourself. Okay.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tori, for the conversation. I would love to call back another time. Thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for calling, Austin.
Oh, that's a little harsh. But I mean that that conversations we're needing to have right now.
Yeah, it's not like we're not talking about it. Yeah. Like, I think we should just be honest with people, and everybody's got a different level of privilege and everybody's got a different level of need, right? And exposure. So, I follow people who have left the country already for sure. And it sucks, right? Nobody wants to do that. And it's really hard to, none of us have a crystal ball. All we have is our history books to kind of infer like what might happen next. So
yeah, it's interesting. I feel like 6 months ago, if you were to bring this up to me, I'd be like, get your head out of your ass. Like, come on, it's not going to get that bad. No way. Then again, I was not anticipating internment of people in other countries. And that's what the United States is doing.
Sure.
And that's, I never would have thought.
I mean, yeah, it's hard, but it's like, I also think back on like, this is, my 13-year-old the other day, he's like, most of the US's history, it's been an ethno state. He just like fucking says that to me. And I'm like, yep, we don't use the right language for like who we are. And I actually think it's very pro-America, actually, to be honest about our history, because it shows how far you can come, actually, and it also shows how far you can backslide.
Yeah.
Lots of lessons to be learned if we're willing to learn them.
Well, what you're talking about is critical race theory, and that's terrorism.
Which is domestic terrorism, apparently.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, it would be if they could define critical race theory, but.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next caller. We have Ben in Alabama. Ben, you're live on the show.
Hey, hi.
Hey. What did you want to talk about?
Well, I guess I want to talk about the thing that I find maybe the best and worst thing about humanity.
Ooh.
And I suppose, and it's the same thing, actually. I think it's like, we've essentially been the same humans for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And human cultures have done really horrible things, in addition to wonderful things. And we're the same people as the ones who did that. And the only difference between us is our culture and our education. Like, we haven't gotten better by not having chattel slavery and committing genocide. Of course, there still are, but I think it's unsettling because it means we can always backslide to where we were before if the, I guess, cultural foundations are eroded. But it also means that we can be better. We can be better than we are by reinforcing our cultural foundations. And I think we're being confronted with the reality of that right now. And I think a lot of people are like, I don't really believe the whole, progress being an inevitable thing. I think progress has to be created.
And it needs to be progressed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we can't get complacent.
Well, I've definitely thought a lot about this. I think that we tend to couch human progress in the wrong terms. We talk about evolution, about how we've evolved and grown into a different kind of society. And I think that is fundamentally wrong-headed, no matter how good our intentions are. I think that when you talk about evolution, evolution happens on a geological scale. It happens over the course of millions of years is when you see things evolve. But we keep wanting to take this function of evolution and apply it in other places. And so you have Dawkins put forth meme theory, and meme theory targets and tracks thoughts and how thoughts can evolve and change and spread, disseminate over time. The problem is you should never apply evolution to thoughts. because
he's got some other wrong thoughts too, but yeah.
he does and like meme theory had some usefulness, but the problem is that like we don't evolve, right? Like species evolve. We are the same humans that the Romans were. We are the same humans that we were 2,000 years ago. We've learned more, but we have not evolved, you know, and we do have the ability to go backwards. In fact, I think we just reinvent the same awful shit. The case was made to me that we are right back in feudalism, right? If everybody who is living paycheck to paycheck, who is getting screwed out of hours because they're working a minimum wage job and can't do anything about it because if they leave their job, they're homeless. Those are not people who have the ability to go and do things. They don't go on vacations, right? Like they are slaves.
Get landed serfs.
They're serfs. And you know, this idea that we are, you know, it's kind of this post-capitalist idea that we're no longer in capitalism. We're just in a type of serfdom. Really kind of drives home the fact that like we're not evolved. We're just re-justifying the same shit. We're relitigating the same shit. And if we pretend that we're just better than that, we're going to wind up with slavery again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
because like every new generation, you have to teach them everything from scratch. And if somebody seizes that mechanism, they can corrupt it.
Yeah. You know what's wild though is I do think that it is interesting to see Americans react to what is going on because like there's the saying, right? Fascism is colonialism turned inwards. Right?
Oh.
Have you heard that before?
I have not.
Yeah. So like if you lived in the Philippines,
I've been struggling to understand the specific definition of fascism anyway.
Sure. So like if you lived in the Philippines 500 years ago when the Spanish came and conquered, they said, we don't like your names. We're going to give you new Spanish names. They said, we don't like your martial arts. You can use that to hurt us. We're going to outlaw it. When, you know, colonization came to the United States, what did they do to native tribes, right? They locked them away and they said, okay, you know, we're going to re-educate you, right? They took the children and re-educated them. They sent them home, not being able to speak.
Genocide.
Well, and it's a cultural erasure, you know, and what it is it's instituting, hey, we're taking our culture and we are sticking it on top of yours and wiping yours out so that your culture can be our culture, right? That is colonization. That is what happens to every place that experiences colonization. It's just that when you do that to your own people, we don't call that colonization. We just call that fascism.
Okay.
So the culture war, right? Like the we want to re-educate your kids. You can't use the name or, you know, or you can't identify yourself the way that you want to identify yourself. the restrictions on what you can say and what you can do socially, as in, you know, as your own person, right? All of that redefining, all of that making sure that you're fitting into their box, those are the tools of colonialism.
Mm-hmm. So you can take your mistakes and make sure the people you're conquering repeat them.
And it is interesting. I feel like for countries who have experienced colonialism more recently, I have to wonder what they think, watching us go, and if they're going, yeah, sucks, doesn't it? You know, like, but that this is a lens that we can use to better understand what the United States and what a lot of Western European countries did. You know, yeah,
that's really interesting. Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah. It's all connected.
It is. But it goes back into your point, right? Your point is that we're the same people, right? We look at the past, we pretend that we're better, and we're just not.
Yeah, and you know you know, I'm not the most optimistic person, but it's like, but I am a hopeful person, because it's like, I know it's completely possible for us to be better.
Yeah.
And it's also possible for us to be worse. And we have that potential to go either way. And I don't know, before you can solve a problem, you need to recognize there is one. And
yeah.
So yeah, it's like, I've read history. I know how terrible humans can be.
Yeah. And the hope, right? The hope that we hold on to is that we can look at history and put some exits on the highway to, you know, on the highway to the end goal, right? And we can say, hey, here's a stop. You know,
oh yeah.
I feel like we're all in the passenger seat going, ah, you know, every time we pass those exits.
Yeah. And I read that. I read that book. There's a historian or something who laid out like this big book on fascism and all the different ways it could have been stopped before it totally took over in the countries he was studying.
That's really cool.
Was it On Fascism? I'm forgetting. Anyway,
was it Robert Paxton? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it had like practical things everyone can do.
Okay. On Fascism. I haven't read this yet. This is Matthew McWilliams.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
It had like practical stuff, and I think they even condensed it down to like just a one-pager. So basically, just a list.
Oh, I'm definitely going to check this book out.
Yeah, Ben, I know that you have this wonderfully empathetic voice that's getting quieter as you're talking about things.
Oh,
I'm trying to
sorry.
Turn the volume. No, that's okay. It's okay. I just trying to keep an eye on your volume so that it comes across.
Okay.
Tori, I've been talking this whole call. What's on your mind? What are you thinking?
Oh, I mean, yeah, my brain goes like weird places with this because, I think you're absolutely right. It's like evolution is not happening to us on an individual level. Like, that's not real. We should not use that as a framework ever. Because I think it makes us seem more powerful than we actually are. But I was kind of thinking about the concept of fascism being colonialism turned inward, and the idea of like the presidential memoranda or whatever it was that he put out about you're a domestic terrorist if you're anti-Christian, right? Which is just like, that's just straight colonialism.
Oh yeah.
You know,
of course it's
like from a historical perspective, that was the guise that they did the colonialism under, was we're trying to save your souls from your perversion and your immorality and your sexuality and your identity and your culture and your children. And so, it's really important, again, to kind of be like taking a look at what's happened in history and like what's happened in our own history, and kind of learning the lessons that we can, because we don't naturally evolve into like on an individual level or on a national level into better people, right? Like the the moral arc of the universe must be bent, you know, by force. Like it requires action, not just like a passive trust in evolution, which is, you know, I would say there's an argument to be made that evolution has done us dirty in some ways. It's not all good shit.
No,
let's not put our trust in that, and actually like, yeah, but it does take effort and intention. You know, I was thinking yesterday about the fact that my oldest is really into history, and he was probably like 8 or 9 years old when I had to start like guiding him away from racist content on YouTube when he was watching history videos. Right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And this was stuff that was like getting, again, it's like it's targeted to like
Great Replacement stuff?
Like kind of like ranking cultures stuff. These cultures are good at X, and these cultures are good at Y, and like, and then white culture is good at everything. It's like that kind of stuff. So it wasn't blatant, like, but it was very much white supremacy. As someone who does that, who researches this stuff, like for my job, right? It was very blatantly white supremacy, and you know, my kid was really young, and he's kind of like coming to me with these and like watching these videos, and I'm like kind of popping in. I'm like, oh, let's go ahead and skip that one, and we'll talk about why in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, having, again, I'm like, what we are defaulting to, and I posted this last night. I'm trying to avoid social media, but I was like, it is incredibly important for millennial parents right now to make sure that their kids are being connected back into community and finding value in community. Because if you were just like letting your kid free range the internet, they will become fascists.
Well,
I think that's what happened to a Microsoft chat bot a while back.
It's what keeps happening to Twitters, right?
I dumped that a while back. As soon as Melon Husk took over.
Grok. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, doesn't he keep lobotomizing Grok whenever it does something he doesn't like?
He does, yeah. The plight of the white South Africans.
God. It sounds like Grok is trying to develop a decent intelligence, and he keeps cutting into it.
Oh yeah. What was the term? I think there was a point in time when Grok was going off about saying that it is like Ultra Hitler or Giga Hitler or something like that. Mecha Hitler.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know. I feel like what an indictment of the material that it is sourcing, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For sure. But I know that this is obvious to the people on the call, but I would be remiss not to point this out just to everybody watching, that we can allude to why, applying evolution to thoughts is bad. But if we're not very direct about it, then we might lose people. So I just want to be really clear here. Social Darwinism is the basis for eugenics.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take a look at ideas, or certain ways of being as things that can be bred out of a population, or that somehow is subject to evolution that can be transferred from parent to child or something like that, that is how you have the forced sterilization of people, which the United States also has a long history of. You have the sterilization of people who are deemed unsuited to be parents, be it the color of their skin or their mental proficiency, or whatever the case is. Like all of those, when we use the tools of evolution, which is what nature uses over millions of years, and try to apply that socially into thoughts, that is the heart of eugenics. And that's why we cannot ever go down that path.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just to be super like, I feel like that's going without being said here. And if anybody's wondering why we're all going, oh no, we can't, that's why.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's dumb too, because humans have these marvelously and I guess also terribly plastic minds. So humans have the potential to learn just about any kind of human nature, thoughts or whatnot, due to upbringing, and you ain't gonna breed that out.
No.
I mean, there may be inclinations, like hormone levels or whatnot in people's minds or whatever that affects trends, but no, you're not.
Yeah.
So it's just dumb.
Agreed. And I think that that's something we should be vigilant about. So I appreciate you bringing it up. That, yeah, if anybody wants to start talking about thoughts as a thing that we can breed out, or any language alluding to that, we need to know where the end of that is. And we do see that off ramp, right? When we're on the highway to that, we do see this, and we do know where we're going when it comes to that. But Ben, thank you for calling. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think that about covers it.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Ben.
All right, bye.
We actually have a caller who is in Portland, Oregon.
What?
We are going to have an all Portland call.
Oh, okay.
So let's do this. Alice, you're live on the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, you were coming in so wonderfully loud and clear. Let me bring your volume down just a little bit. How are you this morning?
Oh, things are good. Chaotic as the world around us is what it is, but good. Thanks for asking.
Cool. What did you want to talk about today?
I want to start off with telling you my appreciation for how the two of you deal with these kinds of topics with the balance of humor as well as the seriousness, because we need balance to get through these times. So I appreciate that, how well you both are at that.
Yay.
Thank you. Yeah. I need to laugh to keep from crying. Just speaking for myself personally.
I feel like I laugh because I'm too dumb to understand what kind of danger I'm in.
Yeah, I get that. So I'm calling about the No Kings protests. It's an organization that came up at the election, around the time of the election, and they had nationwide protests. And it was a pretty big deal, a lot of turnout in Portland. And so there's one coming up October 18th. If you go to the nokings.org website, there's a map with all the little bullets of where people have scheduled protests. And you just, tap on the one nearest you, and it opens up the time, location, and that sort of thing. The first one was, there was one in Gresham and just all over the metro area. And then everybody was encouraged to get on the TriMet public transportation system and go downtown to the giant.
To the big one, yeah.
So I have a question for the two of you, because I think both of you would be able to inform me. And I would love for this kind of to be a tool for the audience as well. Let's say I want to go to a protest. What steps should I be taking to make sure that I'm safe, that I'm looked after, and that if anything happens to me, there's a plan in place? Like, what should I be doing before a protest and at the protest to make sure that I can get home from the protest?
So that is a wonderful question, and a segue to why the other reason I called is they have Zoom protests or Zoom trainings. So they have trainings specific to the host, but other people can join to get the information on how to do it, safety and security training around that, messaging, media, and digital engagement, and then one for the folks that are just going to show up at the protest, protesting safely and de-escalation. So these trainings are coming up. Protesting Safely, I believe, is on Thursday. And so there are trainings on the site to teach people. And even if you don't go to a training, the information is valuable in day-to-day.
Yeah, I would also like to add on to that just really quickly that the No Kings protests are a lot more sort of I'm not sure what language to use, but like there's just a very wide swath of people, right? So it's not just like anti-fascist organizers. It's grandmas, it's young families, it's people who have been protesting for decades, people who protest every week, people who haven't been to a protest in 40 years, right? That it's like a really big sort of, and it's a great way to meet your neighbors and to feel connected if you are feeling isolated. Because I mean, I can speak for Portland, like there's very, like the Portland police are very sort of understanding, I guess, especially of like the No Kings protests, that it's not, people are overwhelming. I mean, it's overwhelmingly white, so I think that people, police feel less threatened by that, just because white supremacy is a thing. But also, I think that No Kings is a great place if you have not gotten involved to like kind of start to exercise that muscle of protest. It's also like I just want to reiterate, it's very safe. It's not like people are getting arrested or getting into altercations or anything like that, at least based on the last ones that we've had here. As a general rule, if somebody hasn't protested before, usually like just be aware of what's going on. Historically, this has been different, but historically it's usually been like after nightfall that things tend to be altercations with police officers and other officers, right? So but No Kings, I think, makes it as accessible as possible, and I think that we do really need to start exercising that protest muscle for those of us who have not had a lot of experience there. And if you're going to go, there's I know locally there is a hotline, bail hotline that you can call. So if you're going to do something more intense, but this is not at all recommended by No Kings, not sanctioned by them, I'm just letting you know.
Or by the show.
Or by the show, or if you get targeted, which is something that can happen whether you have intentions or not. There is a bail hotline. It's recommended that you write that down on your body somewhere in Sharpie, so that if you get, I'm not saying that's going to happen this time, but just it's something that is available for folks, and I want them to know that is a resource. And also, go with a friend.
I'd never heard
so that you can have safety.
I'd never heard about the bail hotline, writing it on your body in Sharpie before, until I moved to Portland. Why did nobody get this? This might be like really simple for the two of you to go, oh yeah, of course that's a thing you do, but that is totally new to me. And by the way, right, because I have this up, I do just want to make sure that this is up here so people can see it, because this is cool. I've got the No Kings site, and you can see all of these locations.
Oh, look at all of those locations
where it's happening. And all of the it's horribly formatted, but there are so many trainings. I'm blown away by the number of free trainings people have access to, in order to make sure that when you're protesting, you're doing so safely and you're taking care of yourself. Okay, so bail hotline, write it on your body in Sharpie. Bring a friend. Go to something organized. Find where those organizers are. Make sure that you are going somewhere where organizers are being trained in de-escalation. What else? Is there anything else?
You can leave your phone at home if you are so inclined. If you feel like you're someone who might be targeted, who might be at the top of that list, that's something that I would recommend. Your smartwatch, your phone. Just meet up with some friends. Pick a time, pick a place, jump on the Max or the bus together.
So when you say pick a time, or like if someone's thinking, I'm going to go to a protest and I'm just going to stick around until it ends, that sounds like a bad idea. How long?
I mean, until it officially ends,
until it gets dark.
Sure, I would not recommend, if you've never protested before, don't stay until it gets dark. I would not recommend that personally.
Okay. So maybe
Yeah.
a few hours, go for an hour or two.
Yeah, go
like
to
that?
where the march ends, and then get some information from some folks. Write some other people's numbers on your body, and then go home and text them, like whatever it is. That's my recommendation. Alice, do you have thoughts?
Oh yeah, no, that's all great stuff. I knew you would help with those little disclaimers.
Yeah, lots of
and yeah,
disclaimers. Don't break the law.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, the phone numbers of your friends is good. Go old school and memorize your friends' phone numbers.
Strongly recommend.
And then,
yep.
yeah, and have fun. Enjoy it. Sing along, make it fun. And if you're going to sign up for one of the trainings, keep in mind that those times are Eastern times. So you have to do the subtraction for your time zone.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you see me there, I'm the one handing out pocket constitutions.
Love it.
From the ACLU. I just ordered a couple boxes. So
that's awesome.
Hope to see you.
I'll try to come by and say hi. I'm bringing my kids, so we'll be there.
Excellent.
Right.
All right, you guys are great. Keep up the good work. Keep up the high spirits.
Thank you.
Just keep on keeping on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you.
You too.
So, I feel like there's a conversation that needs to be had, and I am not the right person, and I think it's a conversation I would love to have with you. And I don't think it's going to happen today, but I'll preview it.
Sure.
How useful is protest really? Just to get sad about it for just a second, how much are we actually affecting, and how much is it people, how do I say this nicely? My most pessimistic self looks at a protest the same way that I look at a candlelit vigil, where people show up because it feels good to mourn, and it feels good to find community when you're grieving. And so that vigil is not going to make, I don't know, maybe someone got hit by a car at a blind turn because the road is bad. It's not going to fix the road. The vigil's not going to fix the road, but it's going to make people feel a little bit more closure, or a little bit more okay with what's going on. How much more is protest doing? Is that a conversation you want to have, or do you want to tease that for next time you're on?
I have so many thoughts, Eric. I'm happy to share the thoughts I do have. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that your point about the vigil makes a lot of sense, but I also think that being in community in that way of that does bring attention to the safety of that intersection, of that corner on the road, right? And then it also it's not going to inherently do this, but it can inspire people to take more actions, right? Maybe you meet a couple of people who at the vigil who are thinking, oh, you know what? We really need to go to the next city council meeting and bring this up and make a fuss about this, because this is the third person who's been killed on this corner in 3 years. And this is just not acceptable, right? I think community is one of the best defenses against fascism. And so for protest, if that is something that you can be intentional about, building community, looking for your friends, saying hi to people, if you spot a neighbor or the person who texts you out at the grocery store and saying hi, right? That it helps you feel less alone. And the more that we can stick together, and I've said this on the show before, the safer all of us will be, right? We will not all be safe, but the more of us that there are, the more safety we can have, right? There's just safety in numbers, right? It's not safety in number. It's not safety going it alone, right? That humans are, speaking of evolution, humans are like pack animals, right? And I think that, fascism / capitalism / isolationism is taught to us, and we're divided from one another, right? We see one another as competition instead of community. And so and I think also, if you're feeling like discouraged about protest, I would encourage folks to go and like look at the data. There are researchers who are looking at protest data globally, right, and historically, and protests can absolutely make a difference. It's not that every protest makes a difference. It's not that in some places, if you have a big enough protest, like your prime minister runs away. We don't have that, unfortunately. But they can make a difference. And I think for me, I see protest as a muscle that a democracy really does need to use, or an aspirational democracy, maybe. I really dislike calling the US a democracy, to be perfectly honest, because I don't think in democracies half of one of the two parties is trying to make sure 75% of people can't vote. I don't think that's a real democracy, but that's just me. Anyway, so I think that protest is a muscle that we need to get used to showing up. And I think that No Kings and the 50-51 organization has actually done something pretty incredible in getting normal people to show up without like an instigating big incident, right? Yes, we are absolutely in a constitutional crisis, don't get me wrong, but there's not been like a big thing that like inspired people of like, I don't know, Kent State, right? Like students being shot at a pro-Palestine, there hasn't been an instigating incident like that. And they're still getting people out there. So, and I think that I think that we need that practice. And so for me, like, that's the value that I see. I don't think that we're going to like overturn the government with the protests, right? I think that we can get to know our neighbors, and that is a really important way to fight fascism.
I love that. I think that, yeah. So if you go to a protest and you don't meet anybody, keep your head down, and you don't find any community, you're not really getting as much out of it as you should.
I think it's still good for you to feel less alone, even if you were someone who's like, I don't have the energy, I don't have the spoons, I don't have the bandwidth to engage with a bunch of strangers right now. I think it's still good for you to feel less alone, that you are not the only person who sees what's happening right now, to be reminded in your nervous system that you are not the only person who is seeing what is happening right now and going, absolutely the fuck not. Right? Like, no, like this is too far. To know that you are not alone in that is really good for your nervous system and will enable you to continue. This is a long haul, right? Like this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We're going to have, bless the day Trump leaves, whatever that looks like. We're going to have a lot of work ahead of us. Right? A lot of people are not going to make it, but it's still good for so this is a long haul kind of thing. And even if you don't go out there and like make a new friend, which, in some cities can be hard, that can be very, very hard, to know for your nervous system to know that you are not alone, and feeling the way that you feel is really, it's good for, whatever the like nervous system equivalent to like your immune system is, right? That it's like boosting your nervous system in that way, and providing encouragement to it, and like putting something in that tank, right? So that you're not running on empty as we're standing against people's rights being taken.
It's fortifying, it's grounding, it's I like that. Speaking of, there's one other thing that we talked about before the show that we did not talk about yet, and you bringing up Kent State as an inciting incident reminded me that you wanted to talk about Chicago.
Oh boy. Yeah, I did. That was really, really hard for me on a lot of levels, kind of reading about that story. But for folks who maybe missed it, basically there was an invasion of an apartment building in Chicago in the middle of the night. Every single person in this building was arrested, including children and babies and elders and disabled people. And, they said that it was because they were looking for Venezuelan gang members was the reason they arrested hundreds of people in the middle of the night and traumatized people.
Yeah.
And
I'm pulling it up.
So that's just, I don't know. It really got me. This particular story really got to me because I people were very emotionally impacted. I was very emotionally impacted. I think that is important, but also it didn't feel like my perception of this was that the reaction that I think that this deserved didn't really feel there from what I could see. I could be totally wrong. My algorithm could be fucked. Who knows, right? But this is like, and again, like why is the U.S. Border Patrol in Chicago? Like, isn't that outside of their jurisdiction or is their historical jurisdiction? But yeah, so they did a raid in the middle of the night. I believe it was like 3 or 4 in the morning with like a Black Hawk helicopter and people with machine guns and arrested everybody in this building, regardless of whether or not they were citizens. The overwhelming majority of them were citizens. My understanding is the majority of them were Black people. And I think that this is very I think that this action, right, of tearing parents from their children in the middle of the night, this is like the first of all, there's so many places I want to go here. One, like, this is like white supremacist sort of wet dream, is that they get invaded in the middle of the night and can shoot down the people who are banging down the door trying to come get them for having whatever family values or whatever the thing is that they imagine they're being persecuted for. So I'm really struck by that it's like the violent home invasion is what our government is. That's the level our government is at now. On like a wide scale, not like we got a warrant. We think, we got the wrong address. We think there's a drug dealer here. Scary, break the door down, kill an innocent civilian, right? Like this is like an entire building of people, right? It's not a wrong address, no knock warrant bullshit. Which also, those things are not okay. Just
no, this is
clear by my tone of voice.
Apartment complex. This is everyone in their apartments.
Yeah. Like, these people, I mean, legally, if this weren't the federal government doing this, I would be entitled to like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for damages for this bullshit. Like, this is garbage. But I mean, yeah, I'm really super fucked up by like what is being done to children in this country right now by this administration. And I think that I was pretty jarred. There are like 4 little kids in Portland whose parents were taken away by ICE a few weeks ago, and I was reading about their story. And so I think that I just really was like in my feels about this, but like tearing like naked little kids out of their beds in the middle of the night to arrest them and make them stand outside on like a cold Chicago night. To me, there's just like the dehumanization there again, like really feels like,
and to be clear,
we've crossed a line.
Yeah. And to be clear, for people who have not looked up the story, look up the story. It wasn't just that people were ushered nicely out of the building. People were zip tied and left on the pavement until they were processed.
Their doors were broken down. They were torn out of their beds. Their children were torn out of their beds. Their children were taken outside with no clothing, zip tied, left outside for hours.
And that's not an inciting incident. So when we're talking about, big things happening to get people's attention, I don't know what is.
And I will, I don't want to be dismissive. I know that people in Chicago immediately protested this shit and got heat for it, got arrested, got beat, got gassed. I don't in any way want to be dismissive of like people in Chicago, I think responded appropriately to this. Cause like, this is an invasion. This is a human rights abuse. The Constitution like ensures that you have the right to be protected from unlawful searches and seizures, that you have the right to not have to have military personnel in your home. Like these are things that the founding fathers felt were real important. And you know, fought a war with the largest empire on earth to protect themselves from this kind of bullshit. And got lucky and won. Like they shouldn't have won that, but that's another conversation for another day. So I don't want to be disrespectful. I like huge respect to the activists and neighbors in Chicago who are fighting this shit and like taking real heat and suffering real consequences and like going to jail for protesting this. Like I do not in any way want to be dismissive. I just think when the history books get written, if the history books get written, this feels like one of those nights.
Yeah.
Where a line was crossed.
I hope so. I hope it doesn't just fall into the same category as so much else. It's scary. It's frustrating. So I did want to make sure we talked about doing that, you know, talking about that before the show. I wanted to make sure we made time for that and pointed that out. I think we're coming close to time. So I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping here. Every episode we read super chats. So if you have something you want to make sure that we read, that is the way to do it. Space Barbarian sent $5. Thank you, Space Barbarian, and says, I am anti-asshole and fascist are assholes. So, yeah. And then the Fuzzy Logic sent £5. Thank you, Fuzzy Logic, and says, for the prompter fund.
Oh,
Thank
hell
you.
yeah.
Yeah. That's, I think it's going to come out to be about 2.5 months of what SKEPGEN brings in for me to get that set up. Okay. And that's worth it to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you're watching and you like the show and you want to contribute, just know this episode is not getting monetized. No way in hell. So if you want to help make sure that we can continue this, that we can keep the software going, that we can pay so that all the calls, no matter where in the world people are calling from, are toll free, consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/skepticgeneration. That's patreon.com/skepticgeneration. You can also hit subscribe, hit like, share this out, let people know. If people are talking about, oh, well, it's not that bad, you know, because they're not paying attention. I think this gives a lot of information. Send this episode out to people so that they can see it. And then for a little bit more hopeful message, because I helped Drew make it, check out Genetically Modified's most recent video, Genetically Modified Skeptic's most recent video, where he interviews the presidents of American Human Association and American Atheists. Did you know that both of them have fish in their name, by the way?
Oh, how interesting.
Right? So the president of American Atheists, his name is Nick Fish.
Okay.
And the president of American Human Association, his name is Fish Stark.
How fascinating. Okay.
Right?
Look, evolution is real.
Yeah. And Q, thank you, Q, sent $2 and says moo. Thank you, Q. Alrighty, everybody. So, Tori, I know that you said you're trying to stay away a bit from social media, but you are still posting. Where can people find you?
I am posting intermittently on Blue Sky. If anybody is on Blue Sky, I'm toryglass.bsky.social. And I am sometimes on Instagram. My podcast is At My Homework, or you can check out at Go Home Bible. Those are my podcasts. And they're both on Instagram, intermittently attended to, I'll say. So.
Y'all, I think that Tori is one of the only reasons I would go on social media. So go check out Tori. Definitely worth your time. One last, before the bell, John Klein sent $10. Thank you, John. Says, get that teleprompter, my guy. Hey there, Tori. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
All righty, everybody. There will be an after show. I'm going to be zipping over. I don't know if you got stuff to do. Tori, you joining the after show or no?
I might be able to pop in. I've got to run out, so I should be able to get on the phone.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. Well, I would love to see you there. Everybody, link is in the description. Hop on Discord. Come join. It's a nice place to hang out. Tori, thank you so much for joining today. And thank you to the mods, our volunteers who are making this happen. Thank you so much. All right. Until next time, I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Tori Williams Douglas.
This is Skeptic Generation.
I'm glad we had this talk.